that these debates have mattered are when the presidential candidate has stumbled dramatically. So Vice President Cheney's performance really mattered in 2004 because Bush bombed so badly. I think Vice President Biden's performance, I think David Plouffe would say, mattered in 2012 because President Obama hadn't really seemed that into
first debate. Yeah.
This could have mattered. I don't think it did. But I don't think, I mean, the women are gone. I mean, Tim Alberto wrote a piece earlier this week and tweeted today that the collapse that Trump is seeing in the polling is because white college-educated women have fled and all white women have fled this ticket. The problem tonight is that Vice President Pence appeared flaccid and anemic, and that's going to hurt him with men. I mean, the only people that they still had in their coalition after last week's barn burner from Trump were the sort of grievance voter that is a very vocal and animated part of the Trump base. This performance will not land well with them. The only time he sprung to life tonight, and I wonder if, you know, the social media and the background conversations with people in contact with anyone in Trump orbit are all about whether or not it's the steroid rage or just Donald Trump, you know, feeling grumpy about the polls that's driving his performance. I think there are going to be questions about whether he's not feeling that great after this performance.
Because you think even for him, this isn't just his style?
The only time that he came to life was when he prosecuted Senator Harris for not answering his questions. Right. And again, he hadn't yet responded in full to a single question from the moderator. And he was, you think about where the polls are right now. They're on the defensive. You go through the first two questions are about COVID. They're down double digits on COVID to the Biden ticket. The third one was about the economy. He's down 2 points nationally on the economy. They didn't get themselves on offense in any structural way that'll change the dynamics of this race today.
I did think that the COVID, I mean, we knew that COVID was going to be like the heart of the debate. And starting with that, and they went beyond, I think, the first 10 minutes of the debate on that. I thought that every bit of that was, I thought the questions were well framed. I thought that the answers from Senator Harris were devastating. She essentially gave an opening statement in the first question, as Brian pointed out, the greatest failure of any presidential administration in U.S. history, and ran through it just for the very start of the debate.
Correct.
And then I think, you know, we ended with that sort of stunt question in terms of the 8th grader who had submitted something that gave them both a chance to emote. So we had these two real bookends in terms of very different things in the debate. The rest of it all came through as mush. And I do think that a lot of the reason it came through as mush is because we had the structural issue of Pence constantly droning on, trying to drag everything over and steamrolling both his opponent and the moderator in terms of when he could speak, and him being soporific while he was doing it. Very low energy, drony, talking pointsy, condescending, and in other ways that it's just unappealing and, as you say, flaccid.
And that's not what they needed. I mean, they needed him to come out because here's the other thing that's on voters' minds, real people. What if Trump takes a turn for the worse and this guy takes over? He had to look presidential tonight, and he just looked limp and lame.
Well, he also didn't look enthusiastic about defending Donald Trump. There were a lot of times that
he never called him Donald. She kept saying me and Joe and I, and you could sort of see them over a Zoom chatting.
Right.
He talked to Trump like, I mean, and by Pence's own description, he spends a ton of time in the Oval Office. He never once referred to him as Donald, or, you know, when Karen and I had dinner with Mel and Don. I mean, he talked to him like he kept some distance from him.
But he can't talk tonight about being in the Oval Office because we're all saying, when were you in the office? Shouldn't you be in quarantine?
From outbreak.
But he also seemed to be speaking past Donald Trump in a way that, you know, I had Steve Schmidt on. We had him earlier on the show at 7, and he made a point that stuck with me, that Pence is already putting files in for his own future. And there is this story that's circulating that Republicans are taking in, and they're internalizing the fact that they're going to lose the Senate, that a lot of them are going to lose their jobs. A lot of them are thinking, will the university hire me? Is there any job I'm going to get? What am I going to do with my life? It seemed like Pence was trying to almost pretend Donald Trump, in a sense, doesn't exist, and that there is this normal party out there where, I don't know what, gosh, you know, you seem like a really nice lady, you know, Ms. Harris, but why do you have to be so mean? Why won't you accept the vaccine? Well, right? And that he then can sort of inherit a normal party again. But we all know that the building outside of them is burning. It was almost like he's a guy in a burning in a building in a fire that doesn't understand there's a fire.
He's defending a normal Republican presidency, which is not what we are experiencing.
And I think that ties into why the most animated we saw him. The only time he sort of changed his body posture from the position so still, the fly didn't move. Like the fly left him. He didn't move the fly. I think the reason, and here's the reason the fly is a thing, because politics politics are hard to get into, right? And if your way in was like, oh my God, there's a fly, but he didn't shoo the fly.
No.
I mean, I thought for a minute Kamala Harris would get over and shoot your mama, like, I mean, but he was so still that he didn't get rid of the fly. The fly left him when it got bored. So that's how still he was. But the only time he even moved his body in the chair was when he was talking about the Supreme Court. And I was thinking about this too. If he is thinking, and let's just say it, they're all thinking about what they're going to do when Trump loses. Yeah. That is the conversation today. Absolutely. And we have said every time we will say until Election Day and beyond, that can change in a nanosecond.
27 days is 27 years.
One Russian hack and assist from Vladimir Putin away from something different happening. But right now, they're all thinking about that. And you could see him almost taking on a role in a pro-life foundation. I mean, the most he had to say and the most excited he got tonight, the only time he moved in a way that would have, told that fly not to come back was when he was talking about the Supreme Court and pro-life.
But still trying to deny that Amy Coney Barrett might be in a vote to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Which she said in interviews she would be.
She would be. And Trump has promised that he wouldn't put anybody on the court who wouldn't overturn Roe. And they're trying to hide the ball and be like, oh, no, we have no idea how she'd vote on that.
Can we also just note, though, that in all of his solitude and all of his sort of, not being able to shoo the fly, he didn't commit to a peaceful transfer of power any more than Trump did.
He certainly did not. He talked about mail-in ballots being very full of fraud.
Correct.
He did that. And then in his speaking to the 8th grader at the end, he did a whole fake news thing. Whatever you're seeing in your local news networks, don't believe that,
child. Just don't believe the news.
Yeah, fake news and the fraudulent ballots at the very end. I want to bring into the conversation now our colleague Claire McCaskill, former Democratic senator from the great state of Missouri. Also, Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican Party. Both of you, thank you for watching with us tonight. Thank you for being here. Claire, I have to ask you first your overall impression.
Well, let me start with Pence. He was patronizing, which drove all the women crazy, and he was boring, which lost most of the men. So I don't think he gained any ground, and boy, did he need to. Kamala, on the other hand, she was strong, she was in command, and she had a hint of joy. There is something about Kamala that connects with people because you sense that there is joyfulness in her spirit. And this country needs that right now. I thought she showed off her foreign policy chops in a very strong way. I think she did a good job acquainting the country with who she is and where she came from. I really do think that what she needed tonight is for the United States of America to be comfortable with Kamala Harris, and I think she accomplished that tonight. I'm not sure it moves the polls anyway, but underneath it, I think it was a better night for Kamala Harris, certainly, than it was for Mike Pence.
Michael Steele, when Kamala Harris turned to the camera and said at the end of a health care answer, if you have a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are 26 and you're on your parents' health insurance, they are coming for you. And she did that whole litany about what it would mean to lose the ACA. I felt like that was a moment where it was prosecutor Kamala Harris and also a thing that you would remember from the moment. What did you think about moments like that and the type of performance that Senator Harris put in altogether?
I thought that was a defining moment, and it really kind of, I think it stung a little bit more than probably than Pence thought it would, because she did prosecute it. There were times where she backed off of prosecuting a point or two, I thought, where she could have leaned in a little bit harder. Particularly on the handling of COVID-19, as well as a couple of others. But overall, I think she did very well. She stayed out of some of the traps that were set. However, the fact of the matter is, and I said this before, and I was hoping I had a chance to say it earlier when we were together, the one thing about Pence, knowing him as I do, and having worked with him and seen his type of politician before, that whole "oh shucks, let me go check with my wife first" kind of demeanor is killer in a debate, because it pulls you into conversations that have nothing to do with the question is asked. He doesn't answer the questions. He's very adept at that. And we saw that several times, to the point where I was actually literally screaming at the television on this whole piece at the end, where he was asked directly about the administration's effort to eliminate the pre-existing condition. And what did he do? He turned to Kamala and asked her a question about stacking the court. Mm-hmm. She fell into the trap. she answered his question.